Also from our side for joining this presentation. Yeah, first of all, I would like to introduce myself and then hand over later to Robert, who's really the expert about the value stream mapping library and also about our special solution, SimPSM. I would just like to introduce myself and Simpler and to give some explanations why we have took over the library and also why we have developed some VSM and what is the role of this solution selling plan simulation. Because Simplan, we are a service provider first of all, but we also are the smart expert partner for plan simulation here in Germany. And I'm responsible for sales here at Simplan. That's my major role here, and I'm also the let's say the first point of contact to the sales organization of Siemens. And so we put it in the official slide, which is used by Siemens. It's this one pager, which is normally used where you find all the explanations. And I will not read everything, just the most important facts. So yeah, we are working with simulation, discrete event simulation since 1992. We are partner not for Siemens, but for let's say plant simulation, Simple plus EM plant, and nowadays plant simulation since 1997. As I mentioned, we are a certified smart expert partner for plant simulation. So we are not a smart expert partner for everything. We are smart expert partner for plant simulation since 2020. And we have over 70 simulation experts in our organizations, and the whole organization has about 130 employees. So you see, we are really working hard with and on plant simulation, but also have to mention not all of these 70 simulation experts are doing VSM projects. It's also for us a special topic. Next slide, please. Okay. So yeah, as Matthias already mentioned, so what is value stream mapping about? Also, I don't want to go through everything what is written here. Maybe just going back, why we have, or why maybe also Siemens has said, okay, we need something like a value stream mapping library. First of all, value stream mapping library is not used as a digital tool normally. So if you are going to a company and they have their value stream mapping experts, you will see in the end, it's more pen and pencil working. They are really focused on the communication. They're doing everything manually. That's how this value stream mapping analysis is driven normally. And my experience in sales is always like, okay, tools like plant simulation, no, they don't like. Go away with it. It's much too complicated, and so on and so forth. But it's a the usage of value stream mapping is very broad. That means you will find a lot of companies where it is, let's say, a basic instrument which is used day by day. So it's always easy to find somebody in the company who is familiar with analysis, where analysis with value stream mapping it has kind of standardization. But we also learned, okay, standardization, as also Matthias said, so there are a lot of books, but if you go to companies, you will find out that the interpretation of these standards are totally different. That could be something which you will have to discuss with customers when you are going into depth about the library itself. And that's the result when you are talking to a value stream mapping expert in a company. It looks like this. It's a brown paper where you find a lot of symbols on it, and that is how they are working today. And because our experience was, okay, it's hard to sell the value stream mapping library in as it already was developed in plant simulation. We thought, okay, what can be changed? Because when you see this is all brown paper, and we are coming with a very complex tool like plant simulation, which is more or less you have to use a computer, you have to know how to program, and so on and so forth. So you can imagine that is not the way, or they were not very happy when we normally start discussions about, hey, what's about using plant simulation? Next slide, please. So that's basically what you know from the values stream mapping library. That's already the symbols. And yeah, I would like to hand over to Robert, but also like to mention there is one important part here on the slide you see. So the idea of a value stream mapping library is to make it more easy for a value stream mapping expert to have an easy access and not to address the simulation experts. It's very important, I think, also for our discussion here. And the first step is to have this library. So the value stream library, which you already know from plant simulation, is a good tool. But we also learned that's not enough. And also that's important to understand why we have developed this app, which we'll also show during this presentation, the SimVSM app, is to make it more easy for those VSM experts to make the look and feel and the process, or the process they know how to work with it, to make it more digital, but in the same way they know. That means let's take a tablet and do the same what you do on the brown paper, just on the tablet. That was the basic idea. And then to have a simulation in the background. That is the idea of using the SimVSM app to access, or may have an easier access to the library itself. And having an easier access to the library means also to have an access to plant simulation as well. And that's basically also the sales story for all of us, how to sell or to position plant simulation in a company, and to sell maybe in the first step a runtime, in the second step a professional, and yeah, then maybe the whole PLM solution. So that's basically the sales story behind. And yeah, now I would like to hand over to Robert to introduce himself and to explain more in detail about the technical solution. So Robert,
yes.
Please.
Yes, thanks for the introduction. A few short words for my person. I'm a consultant and developer in the subsidiary in Regensburg for Simplan. And besides intralogistics or general plant simulation consulting or project execution, we have also taken over the responsibility for the VSM development, and also take responsibility for the development of this VSM app, which is in context in the same area. And yeah, starting. Yes, thanks, Harry, for the note. Just if you have a question or you do not understand something, or I should repeat something, please just give me a short hint. Okay, so as the introduction words already said, we are in the area of value stream mapping or lean management, and how the simulation in the backend or the simulation in plant simulation is supporting this tool. And the basis for all of that is the modeling approach, or the holistic modeling environment, as it already maybe was called, because value stream mapping is not only like a push system where you have a source and you push parts through a single processing or maybe buffers, and every single succeeding object is just taking parts in and pushing them forward. Value stream always is linked to order information. So the main starting point is, for example, order information for a customer. So how many parts is a customer ordering per hour or per day? And that would be the leading KPI for your whole value stream. That would be your whole goal or objective for your balancing of your facility or your process flows, to match this final demand of your customer of certain products used. And therefore, there is, for example, customer as a starting instance, and additionally, you can model, for example, material flow and also information flow as well. And these two worlds are combined together. So material flow is, for example, only happening if information flow is also modeled correspondingly. For example, if you have a customer right here and you have an order instance, so you would trigger orders, and these orders are then distributed to certain process steps within these material flow modeling instances. So like this. This important step between pull and push, you have a local order input right here, and this would trigger material flow and push to succeeding objects. But as well, with this local order input or the information flow input, you would take out parts from a supermarket, and a supermarket would again reorder from a process object. So as said before, it's not only like you have a push system with parts going only to successor objects, but also the information for the order world or the order transfer world, how many parts are needed, how many parts need to be produced, and so on. And basically how to match this or how to easily model this in plant simulation. There was originally the VSM library implemented in plant simulation with symbols which are only internal networks with basic objects in them. So for example, process is a network, and within a network there's a single process with additional logics to support both push purely push systems, but also to take into account the order information and also the pull information, for example, from a supermarket, and basically the information flow connections. And I think there were a few questions. Yes, as far as I know, the VSM model cannot. So yes, that's one point. The objects in the VeloStream library are basically currently locked as objects. So the main access to these objects would be via dialogues. This was originally implemented in this way, and this is currently still this way, with the intention to have further access. Oh, sorry, this is German, but I think you get you get the gist. This is basically parameterized by dialog, and to enter attributes by dialog, and just to model it itself, to make it, as Dr. Kessbaum already said, as easy as possible, to have a simple modeling environment, which is from the visualization representation similar to an environment a lean management expert would expect or he's familiar with, but also have the ability to enter simulation attributes or additional behavior attributes which are already implemented but can only be accessed through like a dialog menu or a dialog adjustment. But to have this more further open for the future, this is certainly in planning, but currently not implemented. So this is the same status as we had with the library when it was at Siemens. And yes, is it still an add-on library which can be used with applications?
It was not a question; it was an answer from my side. So.
Oh yeah.
It's not open, but it's you still can use it. And how's the combination? So maybe that was the basic question. So can you have a combination of the VSM library and normal basic objects?
That is currently also locked. So to combine, for example, a process object with a single processing instance, or to have like a own implemented storage or own implemented transport instance, is currently also not possible. But we heard these requests before, and we are trying to integrate it into the general concept of this library. But currently, it would be locked as well. Yes. And regarding licensing, so licensing, there would be a special license needed for the libraries, for this library, which is right here as a licensed library, and also to use it as a standard plant simulation license, because runtime you would also need to change structures as well. Okay, good. And with that, maybe Yeah, the combination, as I said, to have on a certain level predefined objects with internal logics already implemented for users within the lean management environment to have a familiar icon representation and also familiar parameters to model push and pull systems. Good. Just one question. Show how actually VS is running and performing. To have it, so value stream could, I think the question was how actually value stream is running and performing. To have a value stream introduced in several phases of planning, for example, if you have it value stream in planning phase for maybe a rough sketch or a SketchUp of your plant, to have a planning on a certain level, on value stream level for planning and before, that would be possible. But to use value stream in actual production, or maybe as a what if scenario for already existing plants, I think that's always a question of granularity or the level of detail. So how detailed you would like to have your value stream or your production facility, which may be already existing, has to be modeled. And if the level of value stream is enough for usage in actual production environment, that could be used as well. But I think the question is always on the level of detail you would like to have value streams. So planning phase certainly, but in production or actually ramp up phase or in actual production phase to compare results, I think that would be possible, but it's a level of detail you would like to have. So that's always, I think, a point to consider. Okay, so I think no more questions. And maybe also to add to the points which were already discussed with the development transition, which is also here written in a slide. Maybe to add just a few functions we added since the development transition. One major point was, for example, the process order management or controlling. So how information flow is maintained and internally stored and also processed in the objects was transferred to a SQLite in-memory database, because it was sometimes very time consuming to sort orders and to have a large order queue. And also direct links, for example, between processes, and also, for example, timeline function or goes into graph function, which are depicted right here. So the basic principle of the value stream library was kept the same, just with enhancement and improvements. And also, if we have custom input from ourselves or from our customers, what should be added or should be changed, we are always taking that into consideration and integrating it into the current value stream library, which is consistently updated also with the latest version of 2022 of the January version, where, for example, also disassembly was introduced. Okay, so is Siemens Service or Siemens Support Center Consulting also in this area, or is there an agreement between Simplon and Siemens who is giving technical service? So maybe Harry could help
so
here.
I already tried to answer, but as Matthias said, it's on the price book, so it's a third-party product. Meanwhile, that means it's a normal plant simulation add-on library which you can normally sell to your customers, and the support is as usual. You can ask your normal support center, and they are requesting support from our side. But of course, if you know our contact point of contact, you also can contact us directly. So, but it's still on the Siemens price list. So it's the normal process of third-party product. I hope this answers your question.
Okay.
So for the customer, I think it's not visible that that it is a Simplon product. It's still a Siemens product.
Yeah. And if there are technical requests or an issue, an error issue, this is normally also forwarded to us. So if you have, for example, a ticket in your ticketing system and there is some error or some support needed, that is normally also forwarded to us by some of the Siemens development team. Okay. And also, as already said before, maybe to look further, even beyond the VSM library, or to get into context how maybe an additional app could be used to further the access to simulation or to dynamic behavior analysis via plant simulation, or the power of plant simulation in a backend via an app, is here also described maybe the difference between the library in plant simulation itself and maybe as an add-on or as an access mechanism as an mobile SimVSM app. So as already said, the library would be focused on simulation experts with a focus on the lean management, with also a knowledge of plant simulation. So users would need plant simulation license and knowledge of plant simulation, how generally plant simulation is used. When it comes to the VSM library, since it's mainly parameterized through dialogues, this is easy to learn, but at least the basic concepts of plant simulation are needed, like an event controller and so on. And if you have, for example, a detailed analysis like a stock development on a certain time frame, or maybe also have like a visual representation, even if it's very limited with animation of parts within the process and so on. But there is always a certain need of plant simulation, at least a license, plant simulation knowledge and access to the software. On the other hand, what we would also like to introduce to you as an add-on or an access point as an app solution for value stream with plant simulation would be to have a front-end access for a value stream analyst who is not maybe within the simulation world, but who is only working on improving value streams, sketching up value streams, maybe by brown paper or maybe by some sort of documentation. But these are normally planners who might not be able to have the deep knowledge of plant simulation to get to know the value stream library, the add-on. So there might be two approaches to further the access of simulation to these users. So one would be you have a digitalization step, so not only drawing your value stream in brown paper, but to have it digitalized. So you have your documentation and your whole workflow digitalized and with all the benefits or all the merits of digitalization, like instant KPI calculation based on static parameter, or also have enhancement of your documentation like time series which are measured, or for example pictures, links included like this. It might be possible in a limited way to is there a possibility to reuse sketched value stream out of the app in plant simulation? Yes, and that's the main focus I would get into. So the whole concept is not we are developing a value stream app and this has no link with plant simulation at all. This is the whole link concept where it comes to simulation. So you have an app concept, and this app concept is automatically integrated with simulation in the backend using plant simulation and especially the VSM library. So we have like a front-end solution directly mapped to the value stream objects you've seen before, with an easy access for users, for example. And that's where maybe SimVSM is coming into play. Maybe as a first result-oriented feature slide, where we have, as I said before, like static enhancement of a value stream For example, you have here time series measurements for certain attributes for an object, or you could have a documentation enhancement for a certain object, like including pictures, or have a customization aspect, but also have the dynamic aspect. So results you would know from simulation also already included into your front end and into your front end application. And I also have a live demo available for you to maybe further dive into this, and maybe it then makes or it will get more clear. And to get to the whole architecture, what we have developed also since several years, also starting with a research project, is to have like a client server application where the whole front end is like multi-platform available access point to your simulation, which is integrated into a server in the backend. So like could be an internal cloud, to speak in modern language, to have like a cloud server, and this server has a central instance, for example, for authentication, for project administration, and also for simulation controlling, which means users can, for example, have an app, can have a normal Windows application, log into the server on the backend, have a certain user ID, can upload, for example, projects, can download, for example, projects. And the final step, and maybe also the most interesting step for us here, would be the direct link to plant simulation, which means models parameterized or modeled in a front end in a simple visualization way are directly moved to a server, and the server is automatically starting up plant simulation. It's generically creating a plant simulation VSM model based on the information on the front end with the value stream library we have seen before. Then a simulation is run automatically, collecting results, and the results are sent back to send back into the front end. And these results are already integrated in the front end as well. So the user has also always a nice accent, a nice access to plant simulation, to have a modeling environment, which we will see in a few minutes, and then modeling environment with a simulation trigger, and simulation results are coming back. And maybe what also is quite nice with technology like this is you have a multi-platform. So we have, as we can say also later, on iOS, Windows, and Android. So a user would not be bound to a simulation server. He can model, he can maybe take pictures or enhance a value stream with a digital documentation, maybe on a shop floor, and then run the simulation on the back end. And when he has online access, maybe afterwards. And
maybe sorry for interrupting, but I tried to point it out at the beginning, but I think that's a very important slide just to understand why we have developed this app. It's not because we want to reinvent something from the real and say, okay, we don't like the UI of plant simulation. It's more driven by our experience that the kind of process a VSM analyst is knowing, or he likes to run, is pen and pencil. And when he showed some of those guys plant simulation, that was much too complicated for him. So we said, okay, let's find something that is digital, but it looks or has a look and feel like he is usually working with. So it's drag and drop, using symbols, doing some easy parameterization, and so on and so forth. So the same thing he's doing on pen and pencil, just on a digital way. And as, let's say, as a benefit, doing the things on the right-hand side and transfer all the data he already has, and he usually is implementing, analyzing, and so on and so forth. So all the parameters are there, but we are collecting it a different way. And so to bring all this information to plant simulation, to the digital simulation, and have a transfer. And so the VSM analyst is learning the benefits out of the simulation. So it's more a transfer, an easy way to transfer the parameter and the knowledge of these VSM analysts to plant simulation, which was always a hard discussion. And I don't know what your experience were in the past, but my experience were always like, no, we don't like plant simulation, much too complicated. We don't like digital things. No, 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 no. And now we have something in our hand which helps us just to have a first step into such an organization and find a way to implement plant simulation in those organizations. Okay, sorry, Robert.
No problem. So
probably it's Georg here. Probably I can comment. I absolutely agree to what you said, Harry. And we had the same experience in the early years with the value stream library. So talking about the user interface, especially in value stream mapping is a kind of a philosophy. And having an app that is more independent, not the depth of an object-oriented simulation system with all the possibilities to dive into an area which is not intended. These were all the time difficult situations, and covering that with an app and pushing the dynamics into the background. This is where we have seen in the past, in the recent, that this is a really added value to the VSM environment. And I'm happy to see all these developments that you have done here so far.
Thank you. And there's another good question I see in the chat about the sim controller and the web service. So yeah, there are different ways. So we have our own server. So there are different kind of concepts. So the customer can run his own plant simulation environment. He's free for that, but we also will implement software as a service solution, or how you would like to call it. So pay-per-use concepts. So we are still working on it. And as I already said, you will have access at the end. We'll ask you to try out on your own using SimVSM, and we also will open the simulation solution, the back end, which is running on a Simplan environment at the moment. So, but we are open. That's the benefit from this architecture, that we can we can bring it to the customer like he would like to have it. So as a service, or if you would like to have it in his own environment, that's absolutely no problem.
Yeah.
And it is a plant simulation runtime in the end, the technology you will need.
Yeah, exactly. So I also provided, or we provided, if you can look along when I show you something, but you can try also for yourself. So I would include a link in the browser, and there is an online website where there is a user predefined, and you can use the predefined user and the password, which is also pretty simple. And then you should get like a website, and you should get a login. And there is also a license mechanism that all of you could use it. But I would show it locally on my side, and you could just play along, maybe play a little bit with it, just to get a feel for it, or afterwards, as you would like. Just a note at the beginning, there is a main menu on the left-hand side on the app settings, and in there you can just switch from German to English, or if there is other preferences right here, that would be possible. And with the login, we would just enter the password, and then we have like a main login site with my local projects. So a few definitions maybe at first. A project would be a collection for us with several modeling alternatives, and I would just create now an empty model to show you a few concepts of the value stream app in the front end. So after creating a new project, you see like a modeling screen and a toolbox on the left-hand side. And this is exactly mapped to the value stream app in the backend. As we have seen before, when we look at this, there is a collection of tools, and these tools or objects, network objects within the VSM library are directly linked into the toolbox on the front end right here, and just per simple drag and drop you can insert a few objects, and also insert, for example, a process and an inventory. And afterwards, you can also draw links between them. So, for example, from a supplier to an inventory, there is also internal link which objects can be linked together as well. You can draw links like here. And also, each object has a set of parameters. For example, process single, like a processing object, has a value adding sign. So is the work done on this process is value adding. You have an availability, a mean time to repair, like an exit strategy. So this is all basic plant simulation functionality which we have used in the value stream as well, or exit strategy, or shift calendar as well. So there's also maybe the possibility to have a shift calendar definition exactly like plant simulation, or visually maybe the same concept like plant simulation, and to add shift calendar definitions to certain objects in a as you see, like a limited way of parameters in a app concept. And as you also see, the touch or the menu handling or the general app handling is always touch optimized to have also the possibility to have it on iOS or Android tablets to go to the shop floor, change maybe some parameters, maybe save a few time series and take it as a parameter for setup time, for cycle times, or something as well. So these are all value stream optimized and touch optimized for lean users or lean users in particular. And maybe also as an example, you could also have pictures added to support the whole value or the whole life cycle of a value stream in an internal project to enhance just digital ways. Regarding the time, I would skip maybe a few explanations about static calculations based on parameters, but I could show you, for example, a benefit of having a server architecture and a server cloud environment with prepared servers. So if you would like, you can switch to server projects, and there should be, I'm now on a different server, but there should be a project there with simple example demo with information material flow, which you can download. And then you have like a pre-filled simple project you can open. And within this, we can also display, for example, the handling of the app regarding with simulation or automatic simulation interaction. So these value streams right here are basically now pre-filled with definition of demand. So we have a cycle time of 60 seconds. We have a certain cycle time for a process. We have a shift calendar integrated. We have information flow modeled, and so on. And there are products. So certain products defined along the way with a raw product, with a product going into final product, which is going to the customer as well. And within a project, as I said, we have as a collection of modeling alternatives. We can create, for example, duplicates of a current value stream, or completely new alternatives with two alternatives, maybe switching parameters or having different parameter attributes, like a failure rate or something like a cycle time is deviating. And these are just simple examples with value stream for one process with a whole day, with a half of a day, and just simple attributes changed within the value stream. And to show you the interaction with the simulation, I can now go into these alternatives menu, which is found right here. You can switch it in, then you have the link to a simulation, And then there is a backend right here. There's the server running, and plant simulation is automatically opened. So the model we've shown in the front end is automatically generically created. So the whole structure looked exactly or pretty similar to the front end right here. And during the simulation, the results were covered and then also sent back to the front end automatically and integratedly. So the user on the front end would only see this one. And the sim controller in the backend would have the simulation control. And when we hit, for example, simulation trigger for severals, so these would have automatically would be executed on the backend. There is a simulation job administration where simulation jobs are queued, executed, and basically sent back. Okay, so questions were handled by Harry. Thanks.
Yeah, but maybe you can answer because so we can work simultaneously on the server, but we cannot work simultaneously on one project because you're always copying it locally. I think that's something you have to describe.
Yeah. So, okay, just maybe also regarding the question with the login, you can all log in with this generic account. So there is a licensing mechanism in the backend that every login would draw one license. That is no problem. And then there is the difference between local projects and server projects. So local projects would basically be your local hard drive, your local PC, where you create projects and so on. And when you create a project, this is stored, and every move here is stored on your local hard drive, on your tablet, on your computer. And when you want to have an interaction with your colleagues, you can upload this project to the server. So this is the backend, which I'm currently now connected to a different server to show you the simulation interaction. But basically, I can upload project to a server, and then I can decide which of these users would need to have access. So I could decide, is one colleague or are all colleagues able to see a project I uploaded on the server? But this is only a mechanism for exchanging projects. So to upload a project on the server and to have colleagues being able to download projects, and a download would then mean it's a local copy basically. And there is also like an ownership mechanism implemented. So only the user responsible or responsible currently for a local project and uploading it is the owner of a project. So only this user can override the project, because it's normally in a value stream mapping or a lean management environment, there is always one user responsible for value stream or for improvement or for documentation on value stream. And this is basically like a mechanism to have a protection against overriding from other users. And that's basically the integrated way to exchange projects via a server connection. So you can upload local projects, download server projects, and continue working with them. Okay.
But it's always one project. So because the next question is if different parameters or the whole layout. So the project is
the whole project with all parameters and with all alternatives. So you can, for example, add different alternatives right here. And this whole is one project. This is one like a JSON description, and then upload it to a server, and this can be downloaded somewhere else on a local host. Yes.
So to do something high sophisticated like described here, you will need still need Teamcenter. And no, we don't have a Teamcenter implementation at the moment for SimVSM. To answer this question as well.
Exactly. And then maybe to make it round, you have now seen, for example, the simulation in the backend. Maybe we can also have a look on the server. So right now there is not much traffic, but if you would trigger simulation right now, this would pop up right here. So this is our backend basically. But to make the whole story round, we can now have a look at simulation results, because simulation or plant simulation has gathered simulation results in the backend, compiles them, stored them in XML, and sends them back to the front end. And we go to simulation results. We basically have certain representation of charts, of table diagrams in a simulation result overview, where you can have an easy visualization of your simulation results. This might be familiar with you with states for plant simulation, signal processing, for example, with additional states for the order management, like waiting for orders or like an internal reworking state. But that is basically like a utilization information. Then we have like a bottleneck indication, but also something like throughput, how much throughput is generated, how much is output at the customer, like a bar chart, which is here pretty standard, or also have something like a parts chart. So how much parts are in there and how is the chart developing over time? Pretty similar, something like a plotter in plant simulation. And what then a nice feature would be, because we have now projects and alternatives, is that we can compare these results. So for example, we have 3 alternatives. One is, for example, whole day, one is a half day, and one has a waiting percentage. And then you have one process, and integrated in like a pivot chart is the utilization of different alternatives, all integrated in the front end, accessible for the user. For example, like here, how is the process utilization behaving on different alternatives, alternative 1, 2, and 3, with the current or corresponding availabilities in the app. And I think regarding the time, that would be a first look of the app, to sum it up, and maybe to also to have like a question round if there are still open questions available. So you would also get the slides afterwards to have it like to have it summarized. But I think the main purpose would be like an app-based digitalization of value streams. You have an access point of an app, and this access point is visually maybe a known environment for a value stream user, and he can integrate simulation functionality with plant simulation with access to simulation server in the backend, with all the benefits of digitalization, like have value stream 4.0, which we didn't get into, have, for example, a simulation job administration, have enhancement of documentation like pictures or links to websites, to internal documentation, and also have, for example, customizable toolboxes. Like certain users have their toolboxes on their own, so they have maybe icons which they have developed over years. They have certain titles for attributes which they have developed over years, like cycle time or takt time. Certain users have their own idea of living value stream. Also, it's like a research topic. Every company is or has maybe a standard of their own. So there's also the ability to have icon changes, attribute changes, or title changes as well, combined with the whole user management and project sharing options, and the simulation job administration. Maybe a few business ballpark points for you. So we also have a link afterwards, and there's a free app available in the app stores, iOS, Microsoft, and Android. And there are certain packages available for customers with simulation and maybe without simulation. But if there are additional questions right here, we could get into afterwards. But I think what's also interesting on the whole concept of client server integration is the scalability, meaning you have one server, and you have maybe like front-end access to lean management users to have or to provide these access into a sim controller, but also provide these with simulation functionality and capabilities, even with parallel simulation runs in the backend to have more throughput for maybe more users. So if it's not 2 or 3 users, but 15 or more, there could be also additional scaling features. Okay, so is it hosted by Simplon or can it be installed at customer side? I think that was a topic before. This backend side can be hosted by us, so we can provide private cloud hosting for customers, but we can also provide the installer packages for customers and say they can then install it on their own. So we wouldn't have any interaction with their data or their models or so. So they can install a sim controller on their own. They would need plant simulation in any form. However, so a possible starting point would be, okay, start with value stream runtime to have simulation capabilities, and maybe then we have additional, maybe more detailed interest in simulation to have a detailed value stream, and then plant simulation standard or the more higher price packages are coming into play, as Dr. Kessenbaum said before. Exactly. So, okay.
There's another question.
How will the alternatives look like in PTS?
Plant simulation.
Okay.
So they are not stored. Yeah, they are not stored because the plant simulation will run. You will have the results, and after that, it will be closed. So all the data will collect it inside of the SimVSM solution.
Yeah, exactly. So we have a simulation job run administration in the backend, and for every single job, there is basically a unique folder created. So this folder contains the template model and then also the run-through model or a pre-init model, and also input data, output data that could be collected at the sim controller, but we have options to automatically delete these because of storage space availability and so on, because every plant model maybe 5 or 10 megabytes or something like this, and then could have a storage issue. Okay, but basically every alternative would create a new plant simulation model. Plant simulation will start and then would be saved in a unique way. So every run would also be openable. So you can also open historic runs with plant simulation itself. So for example, this was a run right here with the parameters set into it from the front end. You can open these models and have your regular plant simulation as before.
But that's not the usual usage. So, and that's no. I think very important. I think we are always discussing as plant simulation experts, but the customer does not want to know that. He first of all would like to have an easy access to value stream mapping itself in a digital way, and then he sees that there can be a dynamic solution, or we can do simulation somehow, and I see the results. And that's basically the point where we have to discuss with the customer and say, okay, how these numbers are proceed and what is the tool behind, and to use that tool you need a simulation expert. So that's the next step. And then you have a discussion about, okay, what is about having a simulation expert, having plant simulation in your organization to do much more high sophisticated modeling like just VSM simulation. That's basically the story we like to tell and we have with customers, because as always, if they are starting building those models, they always find out, okay, we're missing the intralogistic component. What is about an AGV system? And then we have to say AGV system is not possible to implement in SimVSM. Therefore, you will have to use plant simulation.
Yeah, or
that's
also
the sales
maybe
story.
Yeah, a different aggregation level. So maybe like a transportation system or like a very complex robots system with different moving parts, with different availabilities, could be like one area, and this area could be depicted like this single process with one parameter set, and that would be a different aggregation level. And yeah, and then maybe to wrap it up, I think we've spoken to it different times. So yeah. Basically is optimization and extension of value stream method, and also the digitalization with all the benefits, having quick comparison, having easy sharing capabilities as a digitalization tool or a standardization tool, which is also a big driver in big companies where maybe different subsidiaries or different maybe facilities use SimVSM or also use VSM in a different way, and there is a central organization trying to streamline this or trying to standardize this, and that's always a good point for introduction of a software or a standardization process, even if then it's with simulation capabilities. Okay, I think.
Nearly right on time. So are there any questions we can answer? Okay, so that we would like to say thank you very much for your attention and for staying with us for an hour. I hope you enjoyed it, and you all had some a good time, and we hope you will play around a little bit with our solutions. We would ask you for some feedback. So if you find things you don't like, if you find things you like, please tell us. If you find mistakes, also please tell us. And then we are looking forward hearing from you with your first SimVSM project. So thank you. Okay. Yeah, have a good time.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Robert. Thanks a lot, Harry. As mentioned, the presentation will be uploaded to HighSpot. The video, as well as the recording, as well as the presentation. Thanks a lot for your time. Thanks a lot for the audience for the valuable discussion. I think the questions are extremely helpful for everybody. And if there are questions, just send them to Robert or Harry or Georg. They have the knowledge.
Okay.
Have a great day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.